with here and everything from here. Clear across the street. I don't answer questions. I don't answer questions. What am I videoing before? Hey man, get your light out on my camera. What's wrong with you? What's your name and badge number? Told you I don't answer questions. Leave me alone. I'm doing my job. Who are you? Are you a police officer? I don't appreciate you shining that light in my camera. All right, well, get lost. I didn't walk up to you. You walked up to me. Get lost, man.
All right, kick rocks, dude. People, man.
Over here, freaking minding my own business. Hello, everybody. Your comments are coming through now. What's wrong with these fucking people, man? Walked right up to me, and the first thing he did was shine his flashlight dead in my eyes. He said, I'll deal with you in a minute. None of your business. I think they gotta know who everybody is. I don't know who you are. Yeah, a public servant doesn't answer questions. I'm a private citizen. I don't have to answer questions. I have a Fourth Amendment right and a Fifth Amendment right. And these cops don't even know what that is, and it's very obvious. He's not used to anybody telling him to get lost. Might have just been a welfare check. I don't know. Or maybe they were gonna try to go in where they were jumping the fence. Is that other guy a police officer? The one that's not in uniform? Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, man. It's real professional. All right. I'm out of here. I don't think that guy's a cop. I don't even want to be caught. See y'all later. All right, y'all. That was a short little live stream, Sunday night live stream. Cop watching it, most of the time it's opportunistic, and I was on my way to the dollar store and I saw that, and so I figured, hey, I could get out and possibly record and maybe save somebody's life. So that's what I did. We'll make sure they don't try to follow me or retaliate. appreciate all y'all coming in and being my witnesses, my backup. Everyone try to kidnap you because then nobody knows what happened to you. Hours before you get a phone call, and then damn sure don't have your cell phone, so you'll be lucky if you're able to get somewhere in the jail. Some of the cops, they really like to torture you and make you suffer as much as possible, so they'll probably try to prevent you from taking that with me. But anyway, cop thought he was, the guy thought he was real brave and tough when he had the police there. I want you guys to see this, so turn around and go back. We're gonna somewhat identify who this guy is. Somewhat, I should say. He's got a truck that looks like a county truck. I want y'all to see this. Let's do one ride by. See how he's got that light bar on the back of his truck? That's the guy that walked up and stuck the flashlight in my face. Y'all probably can't see it. See that? See the light bar? He wants to be a cop. He acted just like that fake cop that I posted. That's exactly how he acted. BNN 7899. You saw that? That's the one that cost me. Came clear across the street to cost me. And I feel like if you shine a flashlight in somebody's eyes, especially as close as he was, I feel like that is some type of an assault. I really do. I don't do it to police officers.
William, what up? Oh.
I just wanted to show y'all the back of that truck. It looks like a county vehicle of some sort. I am the Click Commander, George Daly.
The Click Commander. The Click Commander? Joko Cowboys. Oops.
I'll come back and deal with you in a minute. Hillsboro Highlights, what's up, man?
Book of Job.
In a faraway place, hidden deep within ancient libraries, faded by time, there lies a book that once belonged to the Bibles of early faithful communities. But one day, it vanished as if it had never existed on earth. They call it the Book of Jubilees, or Little Genesis. A strange record retelling the entire history from Adam to Moses. Not only the words of men, but the lives of angels.
In 1949, Russian geologist Vadim Kultupov and his team are trekking through a remote forest.
There's a curious paradox I'd like to explore with you today.
Next play round. We play by...
I like paradoxes.
There's a curious paradox I'd like to explore with you today. Something that might sound rather startling at first, but could entirely transform how you understand your existence. It's simply this: death is not something waiting for you in the distant future. Death has already happened to you, and it's happening right now. Most of us live as though we're immortal beings who will someday, unfortunately, encounter this unwelcome visitor called death. We see life and death as opposites, as mutually exclusive states. But what if this fundamental assumption is flawed? Look at your hand for a moment. The cells you see are not the same cells that were there a few months ago.
True.
Those cells died. The thoughts you had yesterday have died. The emotions you felt this morning have died. The person you were 10 years ago has completely died. And yet, here you are.
So true.
This isn't just poetic language. It points to something profoundly liberating about the nature of our existence. Something that Eastern wisdom traditions have recognized for thousands of years, but that our Western minds often struggle to grasp. The recognition that death and life are not sequential events, but simultaneous processes like two sides of the same coin. So join me as we explore this fascinating illusion of separation between life and death, between you and me, between all of us and the universe that birthed us. It's not a journey of morbid contemplation, but one of extraordinary liberation.
Around 45
For when we
minutes.
truly understand that death has already happened to us, we may discover what it means to fully live. What is death, really? Most of us think of it as a kind of horrible accident that we're trying desperately to postpone. We see it as an unfortunate error in the system, something that if we could only be clever enough, we might avoid altogether. But I want to suggest something rather revolutionary. Death is no more an accident than birth is. Just as a wave cannot exist without a trough, life cannot exist without death. They are two sides of the same coin, two aspects of the same process. You see, when you were born, you didn't suddenly appear out of nowhere. You grew out of this world like an apple grows from an apple tree. You weren't put here, you came out of here. And when you die, you won't go away into nothing. You'll go back into everything. The grand illusion is that we think of ourselves as separate entities, as little billiard balls knocking about in empty space. But we're more like whirlpools in a flowing river. The river flows, the whirlpool maintains its shape for a while, and then dissolves back into the flowing water. Did the whirlpool die? Or did it simply transform? This is what the Upanishads mean when they say, Tattvam asi, thou art that. You are not a stranger in this universe. You are not some accidental tourist who happened to wash up on the shores of existence. You are an expression of the universe itself. And here's the most fascinating part. If you are an expression of the universe, then the universe is expressing itself as you. And it's not just expressing itself as your life, it's expressing itself as your death too. Both are equally essential, equally sacred patterns in the fabric of existence. So the grand illusion isn't just that we fear death, it's that we've somehow convinced ourselves that life and death are opponents rather than partners in an eternal dance. Now, let's consider time for a moment. Isn't it curious how we've carved up this seamless flow of experience into neat little segments? Past, present, future, as if they were distinct territories on a map. But I want to suggest that this map doesn't quite match the territory of reality. You see, we think of death as something waiting for us in the future. But the future doesn't actually exist except as a concept in our minds right now. It's a projection, a fantasy, a kind of imaginative thinking. The only thing that ever exists is this present moment. And in this present moment, death is already happening. Every breath you exhale is a little death. Every thought that passes away, every cell that completes its cycle, every moment that transforms into the next, these are all deaths. You are dying and being reborn with every passing instant. Time's great deception is to make us believe that life is now and death is later. But that's rather like saying that the top of a mountain is real while the bottom isn't. Or that the left side of a coin exists, but the right side is merely theoretical. The Buddha understood this when he spoke of anicca, impermanence, not as some philosophical abstraction, but as the very texture of reality. This moment is dying as it's being born. And you, my dear friend, are not moving through time. Time is moving through you. So when I say that death has already happened to you, I'm pointing to this perpetual process of transformation that we're all engaged in. The you of 5 years ago has completely died. Not a single cell in your body remains from that time. The thoughts you had yesterday have died. The emotions you felt this morning have died. And yet, here you are. Not despite these little deaths, but because of them. Life and death are not sequential events, they're simultaneous processes. And the sooner we recognize this, the sooner we can be liberated from time's grand deception. Let's examine this peculiar idea we have, that we're somehow separate from everything else. It's a rather extraordinary claim when you think about it. That somehow the universe has managed to divide itself into two fundamentally different things, you and everything that isn't you. But where exactly is this dividing line? Is it your skin? But your skin is constantly exchanging molecules with the air around it. Is it your breath? But with every inhalation you draw the outside world into your most intimate interior. Is it your thoughts? But those are shaped by language, culture, and experience, all things that existed before you and outside you. You see, this idea of separation is what the Hindus call Maya, not exactly an illusion, but a kind of measurement, a way of slicing up reality that isn't quite accurate. It's useful for certain purposes, just as a map is useful for finding your way around London. But you wouldn't mistake the map for London itself, would you? In the same way, this sense of being a separate self is a kind of convenient fiction. It's a social convention, a way of organizing experience. But at a fundamental level, it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. If you were truly separate from the universe, where would you have come from? You couldn't have come from outside it, because there is no outside. The universe, by definition, includes everything. So you must have come from within it. You must be an expression of it, a manifestation of it, the way that the universe has of experiencing itself. And if that's true, then what we call death is not an annihilation, but a transformation. It's not an exit from existence, but a change in how existence expresses itself. The wave returns to the ocean, the leaf returns to the soil, and you return to the universe that you never actually left. So this myth of separation isn't just a philosophical error, it's the root of our existential anxiety. Because if you believe you're separate from the universe, then of course you'll fear being ejected from it. But if you recognize that you are the universe, then where is there to go? What is there to fear? In the West, we've developed a rather peculiar attitude toward death. We see it as a kind of ultimate failure, a cosmic insult to our ambitions. We dress it up, sanitize it, hide it away in hospitals and funeral homes. We've made it a stranger, an enemy, something to be battled against with every resource at our disposal. But in the East, particularly in traditions like Taoism and Buddhism, death is understood quite differently. It's seen not as an end, but as a transformation, not as a period, but as a comma in the grand sentence of existence. Consider for a moment the transformation of ice into water. When ice melts, does the ice die? In a sense, yes. It ceases to be ice. But nothing is actually lost. Not a single molecule disappears. The frozen water simply changes its form, becoming liquid, flowing, adaptable. This is what the Taoists mean when they speak of Wu Wei, not inaction, but action in accordance with the natural flow of transformation. Not resisting change, but embracing it as the very essence of reality. You see, when a cloud transforms into rain, we don't mourn the death of the cloud. When winter transforms into spring, we don't grieve the passing of the cold. We understand these as natural cycles, beautiful in their endless becoming. So why do we make an exception for human death? Why do we insist that this particular transformation, out of all the countless transformations in the universe, must somehow be a tragic error? 0. 5. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, or Bardo Thodol, offers a fascinating perspective here. It suggests that what we call death is actually a series of transformations of consciousness, a journey through various bardos or intermediate states. The consciousness doesn't cease, it transforms, just as water transforms from ice to liquid to vapor. And isn't this consistent with what we know about the physical world? Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. Matter cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. Why would consciousness be the sole exception to this universal principle?
Ooh.
So when I suggest that death has already happened to you, I'm pointing to this constant process of transformation.
That's what I was just thinking. Consciousness isn't energy, though, is it?
Transformed into the adult you are now. The novice has died, transformed into the expert. The stranger has died, transformed into the friend. Death isn't something waiting for you at the end of the road. It's something you've been experiencing all along, with every transformation, with every change, with every letting go. And these little deaths haven't diminished you. They've enriched you. They haven't ended your journey. They've advanced it. Have you ever noticed how difficult it is to pin down exactly what we mean by now? The moment I say the word, it's already passed. The present seems to be an infinitesimally thin line between past and future, always moving, never graspable. And yet, paradoxically, now is all there ever is. The past exists only as memory in the present. The future exists only as anticipation in the present. All experience, all reality, all life happens now. This is what the Zen masters mean when they speak of the eternal present. Not an endless stretching of time, but a recognition that time itself is a concept that exists within the eternal now. Consider this. Have you ever experienced anything outside of the present moment? You may remember the past, but the remembering happens now. You may anticipate the future, but the anticipating happens now. Even your awareness of time passing happens now. So if the present is all that ever exists, then in a very real sense, there is no death waiting for you in the future. There is only this moment, eternally transforming into the next moment. And in this eternal now, life and death are not sequential events, but simultaneous aspects of the same reality. This is what Dogen, the great Zen master, meant when he said, to study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by myriad things. When we drop our fixation on maintaining a separate self across time, we open to the boundless reality of the present moment. In this eternal now, death isn't something that will happen to you. It's something that's always happening a alongside life as part of the seamless flow of existence. The cells in your body are dying and being reborn. Your thoughts are dying and being reborn. Your identity is dying and being reborn. And this isn't something to fear or resist, it's something to recognize and embrace. Because when we step out of our linear past to future concept of time and into the eternal now, we discover a profound truth. You cannot die in the future because the future doesn't exist. You cannot die in the past because the past doesn't exist. You can only ever be alive now. So in the deepest sense, you are always alive and always dying, eternally held in the embrace of the present moment. And this realization doesn't diminish life. It enriches it immeasurably. Now let's talk about our fear of death, shall we? It's really quite fascinating when you look at it closely. What exactly are we afraid of? We can't be afraid of the experience of being dead because there isn't any such experience to be afraid of. It would be like being afraid of the experience of dreamless sleep.
Tulip, what up?
No. Our fear of death is something else entirely. It's a fear of losing our sense of self, our identity, our story. And this reveals something rather remarkable.
How's the weather down there by you right now?
Death is actually a symptom of our attachment to a particular idea about who we are.
Should be kind of clear right
See,
now, I
we've been
think,
taught
isn't
to
it?
identify with a narrative. I was born on such and such a date. I went to this school. I have these relationships. I've achieved these things. And we've mistaken this story for our actual being. It's as if we've confused the menu with the meal, or the map with the territory. But what if you are not primarily
38 and rain. Oh man,
What if you are more
rain
fundamentally
sucks
the
during the
awareness in
winter.
which this story appears? This
It's like
awareness
at that
that's
point,
reading
it might
the
as well
words
just
right now,
snow.
that's feeling the sensations in your body, that's noticing the sounds around you. This awareness that doesn't come and go, but is the constant background to all experience. This is what the great sages of the East point to when they speak of your
There's only like an
bliss, your Buddha nature.
89-degree difference right now.
Not a thing among things.
It's only like 30 or 29 or some shit.
And here's the most remarkable part.
Yeah, it's a
This
big change
awareness
in
cannot
temperature
die,
pretty
not
quick,
because
huh?
it's immortal in the sense of lasting forever, but because it's not in time to begin with.
We were melting
It's
snow
more like the
earlier
space in
today.
which time itself appears. So our fear of death turns out to be a kind of mirror, reflecting back to us our misidentification.
We've had a couple inches in the last couple hours, though. Started off with a little freezing rain, sleet, and cruised into snow, and then it was snowing pretty heavy there for a minute, and I was kind of like procrastinating about even turning the live on because, you know, it's dark. I guess you can kind of see what's going on and whatnot, but I figures. Then I was like, well, I gotta stay up till 12 at least because I'd like to stoke the wood stove at like 12 o'clock because then I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the night. I got some nice chunky solid pieces of wood to stuff in there. I'll load her up and close the vent thingies up on the doors and just let her sit there and smolder for the night, and
when the shadow is recognized as a shadow,
she'll keep the house nice and warm. I won't have to worry about it till I wake up. And hopefully I could sleep through the night. Usually I don't get a whole night's sleep, and all a good night's sleep, so I woke up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock this morning. I've been up ever since. I haven't even went back to sleep yet. Didn't even take a nap or nothing. So now I'm just laying here listening to this audio book. Death Has Already Happened to You, Alan Watts, and the Illusion of, what is it? Separation. The Illusion of Separation. Alan Watts and the Illusion of Separation. Yeah, I woke up at like 3:30, laid in bed until about 4:30, tossing and turning, and I was like, started thinking about, went and checked the wood stove, and so I had to do that, and that meant I had to turn the light on and sit there for a minute, and slowly started waking up, and I couldn't go back to sleep after that. And
you are existence experiencing itself in a unique and so when death comes, not as some
and then I went live on my main channel. Accidentally, truth be told, I wasn't paying attention to which one I was on. I was thinking, because I got two phones, so I try to keep each phone on a different account, and I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. I fired up live up for about an hour on my main account there, but it's all right. Got a few hundred views or whatever, so good for the analytics. I think I picked up a couple subscribers, but didn't monetize it or anything like that. I usually forget to monetize my lives when I go live.
Once you see this, really see it, the whole game transforms. It's no longer a desperate struggle against an inevitable defeat. It's a dance, a play, a celebration of this incredible mystery that we call existence. In Hindu mythology, there's this marvelous image of Shiva Nataraja.
So I'm just laying here watching it snow, wishing the big snowflakes would come back. It's small snowflakes right now, but it's snowing pretty good. The video don't do it no justice really, but earlier it was just big fluffy flakes.
Creation and destruction aren't opposed to each other. They're partners in an eternal dance. The rhythm of the universe isn't just growth or just decay. It's both, interwoven in a complex and beautiful choreography. You see, the cosmos doesn't just create. It creates by destroying. Stars are born in the death throes of other stars. Spring flowers grow from the decay of autumn leaves. New cells in your body are built from nutrients.
I figured I'd run this live for about an hour anyways.
Creation through destruction.
Give it about that
Life
long.
and death. This is the cosmic dance. And you are not separate from this dance. You are not watching it from the audience. You are on the stage, moving with it as it. Your breathing, your heartbeat, your thoughts.
Who knows, I might even... No, I won't let it run all night because it's on my phone. I'll leave my phone on running all night like that, so... At least not my new one, my older one I wouldn't care so much, but... I got my S25 Plus up there running because it's got a better camera. I really don't want to leave it running all night, so...
I'm pointing to your participation in this dance. Every moment, parts of you are dying to make way for new life. Every breath is an exchange, letting go, a transformation. You are not a static entity.
I'm tired though.
You are a process, a verb rather than
I got about 45 more minutes to burn.
And if you
And I can
shift
go
your
stoke that
perception
one
to
more
see
time, I
this way
think.
to see it, not just intellectually understand it, then death loses its sting. Not because you found some clever way to deny it or avoid it, but because you recognized it as inseparable from life itself. You've seen that without death there can be no life, just as without darkness there can be no light, and without silence there can be no sound. This is what the mystics mean when they speak of non-duality. Not that opposites don't exist, but that they exist in mutual dependence, like two sides of the same coin. Life and death, self and other, being and non-being, these aren't adversaries, but dance partners, eternally embracing in the cosmic ballroom. So the question isn't how to avoid death, but how to dance with it. Not how to escape the rhythm of existence, but how to move in harmony with it. Not how to cling to a separate self, but how to recognize your participation in the whole magnificent choreography of being. Let me offer you an image that I've always found particularly illuminating. Imagine the ocean, vast,
7 people lurking.
and on its surface waves arise,
well, 6 people lurking because I gotta have one phone for the camera, one phone for the chat. So I'm technically in the chat too. Got 6 lurkers though, and 2 up.
Moving across the ocean surface.
William might be lurking.
But is it really separate? Is there a place where the wave ends and the ocean begins? Of course not.
Who's the other
Wave is a
4
form that
lurkers?
the ocean takes.
Make yourself
Pattern
known.
of movement within the larger body of water. The wave doesn't contain water. It is water moving in a particular way. It doesn't exist apart from the ocean. It is what the ocean is doing at that particular point in time and space. And when the wave subsides, does it die? In a sense, yes. That particular form disappears. But the water that composed it doesn't go anywhere. It simply returns to the ocean from which it was never really separate. Nothing is lost. Only the temporary pattern dissolves. This, I suggest, is a rather perfect metaphor for our own existence. You are not a separate entity moving through the universe. You are what the universe is doing at a particular point in space and time. You are not in the universe. You are the universe, taking a particular form for a while.
You are the
And
universe.
when this form dissolves, as all forms must, you don't go anywhere because there's nowhere to go. You simply return to the ocean of being from which you were never really separate. This is what the Upanishads are pointing to with the concept of Atman and Brahman, the individual self and the universal self. Not as 2 separate things, but as 2 perspectives on the same reality, just as the wave and the ocean are 2 ways of looking at the same water. So when we fear death, it's rather like a wave fearing its return to the ocean. It's a failure to recognize our true nature, our inseparability from the whole. It's a case of mistaken identity, of identifying with the temporary pattern rather than with the water
But if your conscious
this
is
misidentification isn't just a philosophical
energy,
error. It's the root of
and
our
your body and all that's
existence.
energy, and you die,
Because if
energy
you think you're
doesn't
just the wave, then
go
of course
away,
you
it just
fear
transforms.
when
And what
the wave
happens to your
subsides.
your conscious?
But if you recognize yourself as the water, taking the form of a wave for a while, but never limited to that form,
Maybe I don't
what
want to
is
be
there to
part of the
fear?
wave or the
This
ocean.
isn't just poetic language.
You know what I
It's
mean?
direct pointing to the
I
nature
want to
of
stay
reality.
awake.
It's an invitation to look beneath the surface appearance of things to the underlying unity from which all forms arise and to which they return. It's an invitation to recognize that death has already happened to you countless times, and yet here you are, eternally renewed in the endless creativity of the cosmos. Now we come to the culmination of our exploration. What does it mean to truly understand, to fully recognize that death has already happened to you? What lies beyond the veil of this realization? You see, there's something rather extraordinary that happens when you stop seeing death as a future event to be avoided and start recognizing it as an integral part of your ongoing experience. Something shifts, not just intellectually, but in your
Oh,
being.
snowflakes are getting bigger
That
again.
shift is nothing short of liberation. When you no longer feel the need to hold yourself together as a separate entity, a curious kind of freedom emerges. You're no longer compelled to defend a position that was never really tenable in the first place. You're no longer trying to be a noun in a universe of verbs. You're free to be the flowing, changing, transforming process that you always already are. This is what the Zen masters point to when they speak of dying before you die. Not physical death, but the death of the illusion of a separate self, the death of the ego as an isolated entity. And in that death, there's an extraordinary rebirth, not as a different or better self, but as reality itself, temporarily expressing as this unique pattern that we call you. The paradox here is delicious. In letting go of your attachment to a particular form, you don't lose yourself. You find
The
yourself
snow
as
will be
formless
fresh and
against
fluffy
very
tomorrow,
different
that's for
beings.
sure.
In accepting the continuous little deaths that make up your existence, you discover that which in you never dies, not because it's immortal in time, but because it's prior to time altogether. This is what Jesus meant when he said, whoever tries to keep their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life will preserve it. Not a promise of afterlife, but are pointing to the liberation that comes from letting go of the desperate attempt to maintain a separate self. And this liberation isn't just freedom from the fear of death, it's freedom to live fully, wholeheartedly, with nothing held back. Because when you're no longer defending a position, you're free to flow with life as it presents itself. When you're no longer trying to avoid small deaths, you can embrace the fullness of life. Think of how much energy we expend trying to maintain our separateness, trying to prove that we exist as independent entities. What might become possible if we redirected that energy toward creative expression, toward compassion, toward the simple joy of being? This is what lies beyond the veil, not some mystical realm after death, but the immediate direct recognition of your inseparability from the whole fabric of existence. Not an achievement to be gained in the future, but a reality to be recognized here and now. So I invite you to consider, what would it mean to live as if you've already died? Not in a morbid sense, but in the sense of having let go of the illusion of separation. What would it mean to embrace your nature as a verb rather than a noun, as a process rather than a thing? Because the most profound truth may be this: you don't have to wait for physical death to discover what lies beyond the apparent separation of self and the world. You can peek behind the veil right now, in this very moment, and perhaps discover that what you've been seeking was never lost, and who you truly are can never die. As we draw this exploration to a close, I'd like to leave you with a thought that I find particularly liberating. Death is not your enemy. It's not even your future. It's your constant companion, walking hand in hand with life in every moment of your existence. And in recognizing this, and truly seeing the inseparability of life and death, something remarkable happens. The boundary between self and world begins to dissolve, not as some abstract philosophical concept, but as a direct, lived experience. You begin to feel your connection to the trees, the clouds, the stars, not as poetic metaphor, but as concrete reality. You see, what we're really talking about here isn't death at all. It's awakening to the truth of what you are. Not a separate entity moving through the universe, but the universe itself, expressing in this particular, unique, never-to-be-repeated way. And in that awakening, death loses its sting. Not because you've found some clever way to avoid it, but because you've recognized that what you most deeply are was never born and so can never die. This isn't a truth that you can grasp with the intellect alone. It has to be felt, experienced, lived. And the invitation is always there, in every moment, to look beneath the surface appearances, to see beyond the illusion of separation, to recognize your true nature as the boundless, formless awareness in which all forms arise and dissolve. So I invite you, as we part ways, to carry this contemplation with you, not as a belief to be accepted or rejected, but as a living question to be explored in the laboratory of your own experience. What am I, really? What is this consciousness in which all experience appears? What remains when the illusion of separation dissolves? Because the most extraordinary discovery may be this: the peace that we're all seeking, the sense of belonging, of coming home, it's not something to be achieved in the future. It's already here, in the very fabric of your being, waiting only to be recognized. And in that recognition, death is revealed not as an ending, but as a doorway that's always open, always inviting you to step through into the boundless mystery of what you truly are. Thank you for joining me on this journey. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.
Imagine the idea of trust, but not the kind we often associate with effort, or willpower trust that comes from within, deep and natural, like the quiet trust that a river has in its journey to the sea. It knows the path and has no need to rush or struggle. It simply flows, shaping its course around rocks, banks, and valleys, weaving through obstacles with a calm, natural grace. This is the essence of trusting the flow.
I beg to differ.
First might
Oh.
be foreign to us.
That statement, I beg to differ.
Often told that control and effort are the
Not only does the water weave around and through things, it also plows things over and pushes stuff out of the way. You know what I'm saying? It erodes. So I'm already having troubles with this with what he's about to say, and I haven't even heard it all yet.
Foundation of freedom. But perhaps, as Watt suggested, there's another deeper way.
The death thing I could get
When we
behind.
let go of the need to control each outcome, in every step we take, we begin to find a rhythm that's more harmonious, one that doesn't require us to constantly push, strive, or manipulate circumstances to align with our desire. Think about how much energy we often pour into forcing things to happen on our own timeline. How exhausting it can feel to try to arrange every detail, just so, hoping that we'll eventually find happiness or satisfaction at the end of it all. But what if the peace, the joy, and the satisfaction we're looking for aren't waiting at the end of this chase? What if they're here now, quietly available, ready to be experienced when we release the struggle? Imagine for a moment the idea of swimming with a river's current instead of against it. Picture yourself in the water, gently propelled forward, without resistance, the natural force of the water guiding you along. There's no struggle, no exhaustion, only a quiet awareness of each moment as it arrives. This is the kind of trust Watt spoke of, an inner belief that life's flow has its own wisdom. When we're open to moving with life instead of controlling it, we find that events, experiences, and even people come to us at the right time, often in unexpected ways. This way of living, though simple, requires a kind of bravery, the courage to release control
Nobody's
and be
coming to
vulnerable
save
to whatever
you.
life brings. It's easy to grasp tightly, to make plans and cling to them, to feel a sense of safety in believing that we know what's coming next. But when we're willing to let go of this illusion of control, we allow ourselves to be surprised, to encounter life in all its fullness. And in those moments of openness, we experience something rare and profound moments when life seems to align, as if by magic, when the right things come to us effortlessly. This is not coincidence or mere luck, it's a natural alignment of life's own flow. When we trust, truly trust in life, we are not waiting passively for things to fall.
Raining there for you.
Trusting the flow
Yeah,
means
fuck that
showing
rain.
up fully in each moment, participating wholeheartedly without the need to steer or manipulate. In this state, we're more receptive to opportunities.
I'm working on expanding my mind right now.
Life offers us. We learn to listen, to observe, and to respond with a kind of clarity that only arises when we're free from the burden of constant control. It's not that we don't have goals or dreams, it's that we approach them with a different energy, one of openness and readiness rather than anxiety or desperation. Letting go of control doesn't mean letting go of intention or direction, it means letting go of the need for certainty, the compulsion to...
Oh yeah, we're staying. Hell yeah, we're
Watts
warm.
often spoke of life
You
as
know
a
we're
compass,
warm.
where each step is part of a
I got plenty of wood. I think I got enough wood to get me through till Wednesday anyways.
This dance is a way to move
I'm not
through
burning a
life's
lot.
ease,
Doesn't
not because every
house
step
is decent
planned,
size,
but
but
because
it
the
doesn't seem to
rhythm
take
will
much to
provide
keep
so
it
that the
warm.
music guide us. And just as a dancer trusts the rhythm, we can trust life's rhythm.
I'd have to use
trust
even
life's
less wood
rhythm,
if I had some
knowing
better
that it has a
quality
way of
wood.
guiding us if
I
we
got a
allow it.
mixture of some
Trust in life
maple and
isn't
some
built on
something
guarantee.
softer. I don't know
It's
what
a
it
choice
is,
we make
poplar or
moment
some
by moment.
shit.
And the beauty of this choice is that it frees us.
So I've been burning
No
like
longer weighed
the
down
softer
by worry,
stuff during the day.
no longer
Then I
preoccupied
got
with
some
what
nice
could go
chunks of
wrong or
maple
whether
to
things will unfold.
throw in there for overnight.
Instead, we're liberated to experience
It's
each moment as it
stayed
is.
70 in
See
my room
beauty
all
in
day.
what's right in front of us without needing it to be different. It's this freedom that brings a quiet joy, a deep sense of peace that isn't
70's warm enough for me.
This is the joy of trusting the flow of life, of knowing that no matter where we are in the journey, we are exactly where we're meant to be. As we live this way, we begin
I kind of
to
like
see
not
the
having a
challenges,
furnace.
obstacles, and even the disappointments we face are all part of the river's flow.
The house is a little
They shape
quieter.
us, refine us, teach us lessons we might not otherwise learn. In trusting the flow, we understand
That furnace, the furnace is kind of annoying. I mean, our furnace isn't loud by any means,
And
really.
when we trust that life's
But
current knows the way,
when
we
it
find
kicks
ourselves
on every
open to change,
30 minutes or
resilient
so,
in the
you
face
know,
of
for
uncertainty, and
10
ultimately
minutes
at
or
peace with
whatever, you know, it,
So let us
kind of
approach
notice it
life
after a
with
while.
this kind of trust, not as something to conquer or control, but as a journey to be
Yeah, that's what I'm doing,
experienced
keeping
rather
that
than
hardwood for overnight.
In releasing our grip, we gain so much more life, live fully, deeply, and harmoniously.
I only had to light a
with
fire
all
once.
existence itself.
I don't have nothing to clean the hot coals and
Think about how trees grow, how rivers
ashes
flow,
out of
how
my
birds
stove,
migrate.
though.
Nothing
I don't
in
have
nature
a
is
metal
fixed.
bucket.
The tree
kind
doesn't
of
strain to grow, it simply does so.
Might need one
Moving
by
towards the
Wednesday.
light, absorbing nutrients,
You know what I mean?
expanding.
I have to clean some of it out.
And yet the tree's growth is steady, reliable, even inevitable. It doesn't fight against the sun, nor
Seems
does
to me
resist
like
the
I got-
changing season.
Seems to
In
me
fact,
like
it
there's a
adapts,
big
swaying with the
stainless
wind,
steel,
bending
like,
leaves when the time is right.
kitchen pan, you know, for like making cakes and shit. Seems like we
This
got
is a
one
beautiful
somewhere.
metaphor
I have to look on
for
the
letting life come to us without the chase,
stairway that
see,
goes
or
down to the
result.
basement. It seems like
It's
I've
about
seen one
aligning
there
ourselves with
somewhere.
the natural rhythm of things. Every part of nature
Or I
seems
might
to do
have an
so
old
gracefully.
pot or something I can
When we
use out in
reflect
the
on this,
garage.
we see that
Find
life is
something
a way
though.
of bringing us what we need at the right time. However, the idea of
Oh, I know what I
non-chasing
can use. If
doesn't
I
mean
have
we
to, I can
abandon
use the
our
bottom.
freedoms or
I got a
survive
smoker
waiting
out
for
in the
everything to fall into place.
garage.
It's more about approaching our
And
lives
it's kind of like one of those tall,
and our
narrow
goals from a
smokers,
place
you know
of
what I mean?
calm confidence and openness,
And you
rather
put the
than
coals in
one
the
of
bottom,
patience or
the
desperation.
charcoal, or
Think
you know,
about the last
whatever.
time you wanted something
So if I
so
can put
badly
charcoal in that, I
before.
can
Every plan
scoop hot
seemed to
coals
revolve
and
around
ashes
it.
out of my wood stove and put them
There's
in
a
there
certain tension
and
in
take
that
them outside and dump them. So
isn't
that's
there?
now I think about it. That's probably
Feeling
what I
that we don't keep
might end
pushing,
up
we
doing
might
now that I
grow.
think about it.
But often
That'd
this
solve that
constant
problem.
push is what ends up holding us back as we become so focused on the end result. that we
And it's kind of
forget
like on
the
legs
essence
too,
of
so
the
I wouldn't have to like set it on the floor. It'd be above the floor.
After
I
you
wouldn't
place it in
have
the
to worry about
soil,
burning the
you
floor
can't
either.
rush its growth. You can water it, give it sunlight, and make sure it has the right conditions, but you can't demand that it grows faster. You simply trust that over time it will sprout and grow in its own way at its own pace. Similarly, when we nurture our dreams and desires, we can give them our attention, create the right conditions for their growth, and then step back, trusting that they will unfold as they are meant to. It's a kind of active patience, where we are involved in the process without forcing the outcome. It's this balance between action and non-action, between intention and surrender, that allows us to experience life fully without the need to control every detail. In letting go of the chase, we also
I'm
take
just
over
trying
the
to
life
stay up to like
survival.
12 o'clock.
Sometimes the very things we're
That
searching
way I
for come
can
to us in unexpected
put
ways.
wood in the
that we
stove
don't
one
see
last time
control.
before I go to bed.
Perhaps you've experienced this in your own life. Maybe you met someone special, not through a dating app or a
Give me a good 8, 9 hours of a window of not having to worry about
or
the
you
wood stove.
landed an opportunity you hadn't been seeking, but which turned out to be exactly what you needed. When we let go, life often brings us what we need in ways we couldn't have planned or predicted. And this isn't a passive state, it's an engaged, alert way of being, where we remain open and receptive to whatever life
I
presents.
can't believe there's people
Trusting
out there
that,
driving
just
around
like
still.
nature, there's a rhythm and timing that's
Freaking
beyond our
Sunday
full
night. What the
understanding.
hell are you out there driving around for? Ain't
The
nothing
challenge, of
around here to
course,
be
is our own
driving
mind.
for.
We're wired to think about
Unless you're going to or from your girlfriend's or some shit like that, I guess.
but real freedom
Guess that'd be
comes
worth
when we
driving
can
out there.
part
You
of
know what I mean?
ourselves, even just for a moment,
Let
and
people
allow
out there
things to happen
driving.
naturally.
Like
Imagine if
that.
instead of worrying about how things will unfold, we focused on bringing our full presence to each moment. If we can bring this kind of presence to our lives, we'll find that the need to chase fades away. We begin to trust that what is meant for us won't pass us by. and that what isn't meant for us will make way for something that is. Letting go of the chase also brings us closer to our true self. Often in our efforts to pursue or acquire, we end up moving further away from who we really are. We lose ourselves in the roles we think we should play, in the accomplishments we think will bring us validation or acceptance. But when we let go of these pursuits, we're left with a simpler, more genuine version of ourselves. We're no longer acting or chasing to fit a mold we're simply
Sci-fi, what
in
up?
the most authentic sense. And in this state of being, we connect more
Ain't seen
deeply
you
with
around in a
ourselves
minute.
and with others. We find that the relationships and
I see you there on
experiences
YouTube
of
gaming
us
though once in a while.
more meaningful because they're not shaped by a need to impress or achieve. This is the essence of living.
I'd watch, but I'm not a gamer, bro, so, you know, sorry, but, you know, you get it, though, I'm sure. But I see you there gaming, doing your thing. I can respect that.
It's as if the universe has a blueprint we cannot see, a way of aligning events, encounters, and opportunities when we step out of the way. This doesn't mean we sit back and do nothing, but that we take inspired actions rather than frantic ones, that we move from a place of alignment rather than force. To live this way is to embrace uncertainty with a kind of joyful curiosity. Instead of dreading what might come next or trying to control it, we learn to approach life as an unfolding story, one we're excited to see, but not desperate to dictate. And in doing so, we find a kind of peace, a contentment that is rooted in the present moment. We're no longer anxiously looking forward or back, but fully engaged with what is here and now. So the next time you feel the urge to chase after something, a goal, a person, or an outcome, pause and ask yourself if there's another way. Ask yourself if you can hold your intention.
Oh man, ain't that a bitch? Lose a job on Christmas Eve.
But that it's ultimately for the best.
What kind of dirtbag gets rid of people on Christmas Eve or whatever? I don't know what happened to you, but
push, to pull, and instead you open yourself.
it's like the Merry Christmas, now you're jobless. What the fuck? Man. They had the Mackinac Bridge closed down, what was it, yesterday? Or early this morning or some shit?
Non-attachment is not about losing our passion or our motivation.
So they had a jumper, had some lady out there who was gonna jump. She couldn't take it no more. Figured jump off the Mackinac Bridge.
It's the art of caring deeply.
I know how I'll take my life. I'll jump off the Mackinac Bridge.
In essence, non-attachment is learning how to hold our desires, dreams, and relationships with the
This would take a woman to do that though.
Consider the analogy.
Most men would just use a gun or something.
When you cut it loosely, the grains rest comfortably, held safely. But the tighter you squeeze, the more sand slips.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. It's like the second one this year, the third one. Second or third one this year.
When we hold too tightly,
Apparently 2025 has been a rough one for some people.
the joy is drained, the spontaneity is lost.
I'm a jumper.
And we're left with a sense of frustration.
Oh yeah, we're gonna stay warm.
Don't yield the peace or happiness we expected. But when we
Staying warm for shout.
when we give ourselves the freedom to experience without demanding a specific outcome, that's when life seems to offer its most fulfilling moments. Non-attachment, therefore, invites us to see our experiences, our relationships, and even our challenges with a bit of distance, not an emotional coldness, but rather a kind of gentle perspective. It's recognizing that no single
It's
outcome,
70 in my house.
no single person is responsible for
So I'm
our
staying that
happiness.
warm.
Our sense of fulfillment comes from within, from our own willingness to be fully present regardless of what happens. And this state of presence, free from the fear of loss or the pressure to achieve, is where we find true peace. One of the most transformative aspects of non-attachment is the way it allows us to love without conditions.
Oh, I know.
Often
Some
when
places,
we give ourselves,
the camera doesn't do it no justice right now, but snowflakes are getting bigger again, and the wind's slowly starting to pick up, and they're talking 18 inches to 2 feet or some crap. Tomorrow will be the tail of the take there. You get up tomorrow, go live, put the phone in the window. It's supposed to snow all freaking day tomorrow too. It's supposed to be windier tomorrow too. 6 inches total.
Like everything in life are fluid. People grow, change, and sometimes move on. And that's okay.
6 inches of snow though can be dangerous, especially for people who don't get a lot of snow. You don't have like snow tires and shit like that on as many vehicles, and you know what I mean.
Another beautiful aspect of non-attachment is how it transforms.
Around here, you either got like snow tires, or most people they have like all-terrain light truck duty tires. You know what I mean? Or if you got money, you've got 2 different sets of tires. You got your summer tires and your winter tires.
But what happens when we attach all our happiness to a goal that keeps shifting?
Who the fuck can afford 2 sets of tires? Can't even afford 1 set of fucking tires right now.
Non-attachment invites us to see success differently. It reminds us that the journey itself, the effort, the growth, the experience is where our fulfillment lies. The destination becomes less significant, and suddenly we're able to enjoy the process without constantly worrying about the end result. And this is where true contentment begins. We are free to live our lives, to pursue our passions without tying our worth or happiness to a single outcome. It's also interesting to consider how non-attachment can shift our experience of challenges and setbacks. When we're too attached to a certain plan or vision, any deviation feels like failure, a source of stress or disappointment.
Yeah, I can't listen to that no more. The death part was cool. I kind of dug that, but the other parties on, I just can't connect.
Joined Allenbeck against the Ninth Circuit, saying, no, we think that concealed carry laws should be constitutional, like the Constitution says. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Shall not be infringed. Man, I was looking at some Michigan law today on some pepper spray. And if I'm interpreting things right and getting proper information, man, I can't even carry some pepper spray and defend myself with it. Ain't that retarded?
Welcome.
It's like once you become a felon in the United States, you're no longer allowed to defend yourself. You're just supposed to be a victim after that. It's weird. The distance that breaks our brain.
We're going to explore something that sounds simple, but is actually one of the most mind-bending concepts in all of science.
Need a quick breakfast even the kids will savor? Kodiak waffles.
I do too, dude. Because I'm not by any means a bad dude, and even though I am a felon, I sure in the hell wouldn't be running around out there robbing people with a gun, because it's not something I did or ever do. You know what I mean? It's like, I had the right to defend myself too, man. And it's a misdemeanor that's punishable up by being incarcerated for up to 2 years. If it was a 90-day misdemeanor, I'd gamble it. You know what I mean? 2 years for a misdemeanor? No, thank you. Fucking bump that. 2 years for a misdemeanor for defending yourself some pepper spray. But I asked MCC. MCC carries pepper spray, and I'm pretty sure he's got a felony too. Well, I'm pretty sure Welcome to This World Media is too, and you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm confused. I know it's not worth the risk at this point until I get some proper clarification and some better understanding. I mean, I Googled some shit, leads me to some laws, and I read through it. You know what I mean? Like, is there a law that I'm missing? Or I don't know. There is a path to restoring it. You have to you get all your shit expunged, you know what I mean? So you got some paperwork, all the counties you got felonies in, and yeah, man, I looked at that too, because I had a buddy of mine, he got some felonies. His was a drug charges. This is back when we were way younger, in our late teens, early 20s, late teens for him, I think. Yeah, it had to be late teens for him. And he was one of the few, it was just some drug charges, weed or some shit. And he was one of the people that had that willpower and that ability to work through it and get past it. And he ended up getting a decent job at the foundry that was in town. And he was able to afford to go get his stuff expunged, and he did. And now he owns guns and shit. You know. And he's not shy about his gun ownership neither. You know what I'm saying? He's a proud flaunter of his 2A. I don't blame him. If I could carry a pistol, man, I'd be fucking walking around strapped like John Wayne all the fucking time. I'd have me a couple Colts right on my hips, John Wayne and that shit. Everywhere that I could legally carry. You know what I'm saying? Just so motherfuckers know. And then I'd have a third one where it'd be my high capacity 9mm after I've gone unloaded my 245s. You know what I'm saying? If needed be. Depending on the situation, it's gonna depend on which clutch gets popped. But you know what I'm saying. The intimidation factor, just the two Colts, you know what I'm saying? Like, straight up. Motherfuckers be like, just don't fuck with that guy. He's looking for somebody to pop. You know what I mean? He's hoping. Fuck around and find out. Pop you. Try to rob me? Oh snap! It's on popping. Bar must be closing. Bar must have just closed. What time is it? Oh yeah, probably. Bars usually close about 15 minutes early. Last call. Yeah, dude, they come flying through here, man. They don't fuck around. These people drive like idiots up here. I'm surprised there ain't more car crashes, man. Everybody's got their four-wheel locked though, and just ripping it. And they like to get on it when they come around the corner right there, man. You sit here long enough, You watch long enough, you'll see some dude come by in a big truck eventually, just
And yet
ripping
it
through.
takes 3 days of rocket
And
travel.
you'll probably hear him too.
When we start talking about the distance to other planets, to the sun, to other stars, kilometers become completely useless. The numbers get so
I'm surprised
large
more
that
people
we
don't
lose
stop there in the
all
parking
meaning.
lot just to whip some
We
donuts
take
as they go
abstract
through.
symbols on a page rather than distances you can relate to in any way. The distance from Earth to the sun.
When I take my son to the school bus when he was in middle school, I'd take him up to the church, and some of the families would be up there. It'd be winter time, and I'd have to pick him and his buddy up, get up at 5 in the morning so I could get him to the bus stop and shit.
Nothing in your daily life prepares you for
And
a distance like that.
and we pull in the bus stop there, and other kids and parents would be sitting there. I'd go into the back corner of the parking lot and start whipping some donuts before I drop the kids off. I figured give all the kids something to talk about on the bus. Your dad's out there doing donuts again. Plus, I think it kind of embarrassed him because it drew some attention. You know what I mean? Kids don't like it when their parents draw attention to them. I thought I was just being cool. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, I was like, "Hey, Ma, whip some donuts." Ma, whip some donuts.
Using its gravity to slingshot itself to higher and higher speeds. Even at this incredible speed, which is about 17 times faster than the Apollo spacecraft, the probe still takes months to complete its orbits around the sun.
Frickin'
And the star
snowing
is
though.
close. It's right here in our cosmic neighborhood. It's the
I'm getting about 1 inch an hour at this rate though.
source of all the light and heat that makes life on Earth possible. We see it every day. It's familiar, and yet it's 150 million kilometers away, a distance so vast that even our fastest spacecraft takes months to traverse it. When we start talking about distances to other stars, even the sun's distance becomes tiny by comparison. The sun is our nearest star, and it's 150 million kilometers away. The next nearest star, Proxima Centauri, is about 266,000 times farther than that. 266,000 times farther than a distance that already takes our fastest spacecraft months to cover. This is why astronomers needed a different unit of measurement. Not because they like making things complicated, not because they want to confuse people with big numbers, but because kilometers simply don't work when you're measuring cosmic distances. Using kilometers to measure distances to stars would be like using millimeters to measure the distance between countries. Technically possible, but completely impractical. The numbers become so large, they lose all meaning. They stop being distances and become just numbers, abstract mathematical concepts that don't connect to anything in our experience. So astronomers came up with something different, the light year. But here's what you need to understand right from the start. A light year is not a measure of time. I know it has the word year in it, which makes it sound
It's a
like
measure
time,
of distance.
but it's not. A light year is a measure of distance. It's the distance that light travels in 1 year. Now, why base a measurement on light? Because light is special. Light is the fastest thing in the universe.
Fastest.
Nothing can travel faster than light.
Oh,
It's
Flash.
not just a speed limit that we haven't broken yet. It's a fundamental law of physics. The speed of light is a constant, unchanging, the same everywhere in the universe. Whether you're on Earth, on Mars, in another galaxy, or at the edge of the observable universe, light always travels at the same speed. Light travels at about 300,000 kilometers per second. Let me say that again because it's important. 300,000 kilometers per second. Every single second, light travels 300,000 kilometers. This isn't an approximation or an estimate. It's been measured with extraordinary precision. The exact value is 299,792.458 kilo.
I watched this video of this guy who made a camera that took 2 million pictures, 2 million frames per second. And he used that camera to video a laser beam. Pretty interesting video. If you're interested in science stuff like that, check it out. World's fastest camera, 2 million frames a second type shit. I don't remember what you'd search. I stumbled across it, but it's pretty interesting.
Meters per second, but for our purposes, 300,000 kilometers per second is close enough. That's incredibly fast. To put it in perspective, light can travel around the Earth's equator about 7.5 times in 1 second. In the time
it takes 8 minutes for a photon from the sun to travel to the Earth. So that's how long it takes light from the sun to travel to Earth, is 8 minutes. If I remember correctly.
you to snap your fingers, light could circle the entire planet multiple times. In 1 second, light could travel from New York to Los Angeles and back about 37 times. It's a speed that's almost impossible to visualize because nothing in our everyday experience moves anywhere near that fast. The fastest thing most people experience is an airplane. A commercial jet flies at about 900 kilometers per hour, or about 0.25 kilometers per second. Light travels over 1 million times faster than that. The fastest car ever built, the Thrust SSC, reached about 1,200 kilometers per hour, or about 0.33 kilometers per second. Light is about 900,000 times faster. Even the fastest spacecraft we've built, the Parker Solar Probe, at 192 kilometers per second at its peak, is still only about 0.064% the speed of light. It's moving incredibly fast by human standards, but compared to light, it's crawling. When you turn on a light switch, the light reaches your eyes essentially instantly because the room is so small. The light travels from the bulb to your eye in about 10 billionths of a second. That's so fast that there's no perceptible delay. As far as your brain is concerned, the light appears instantly, but the light did travel. It took time. It's just that the time was so short, you couldn't possibly notice it. When you see the sun in the sky, you're actually seeing it as it was 8 minutes and 20 seconds ago, because that's how long it takes light to travel from the sun to Earth.
There are kitchens, and then there's KitchenAid.
And there's KitchenAid.
Have questions about Past Debbie?
The sun is so far away that even light, traveling at 300,000 kilometers per second, needs over 8 minutes to cover the distance. This has an interesting implication. If something happened on the sun right now, if it suddenly changed color, or dimmed, or even exploded, we wouldn't know for over 8 minutes. If something happened, with the light carrying information about that event, would still be traveling toward us. We keep seeing the sun as it was, not as it is, for over 8 minutes. When you look at the moon, you'll see it as it was about 1.3 seconds ago. Not much of a delay, but still a delay. When astronauts walked on the moon and talked to mission control on Earth, every word they spoke took 1.3 seconds to reach Earth. And every response from mission control took 1.3 seconds to reach the moon. This created a nearly 3-second gap in every exchange. You can hear this delay in the recordings. There's always this pause, this lag, because the radio signals carrying their voices traveled at the speed of light, and even light needs time to cross the distance between Earth and the moon. Light doesn't travel instantly. It has a speed, and that speed, while incredibly fast, is still finite. This is one of the most important discoveries in physics. 1600s, most people assumed light traveled instantly. You opened your eyes and you saw things immediately, so it seemed like light must be instantaneous. But in 1676, a Danish astronomer named Ole Wimmer made a careful observation of Jupiter's moons and noticed something strange. The times when the moons disappeared behind Jupiter varied depending on where Earth was in its orbit. When Earth was closer to Jupiter, the eclipses happened earlier than predicted. When Earth was farther from Jupiter, they happened later. Römer realized this was because light took time to travel the different distances. He calculated that light took about 22 minutes to cross the diameter of Earth's orbit. His calculation wasn't quite right because he didn't know the exact size of Earth's orbit, but he proved that light has a finite speed.
Yeah, so one's starting to pick up pretty good now.
Precision. We've measured it using lasers, atomic clocks, and sophisticated equipment. We've confirmed that it's constant, that it doesn't change depending on how fast you're moving or where you are. And we've discovered that this speed, this constant, is woven into the very fabric of the universe. It's not just the speed that light happens to travel at. It's a fundamental property.
I like that, but I already know most of that.
My name is Jonathan Klein. I was 28 years old on October 14th, 2019, the night everything changed in Muskegon, Michigan. Listen close, sit nearer if you like, because this isn't one of those ghostly tall tales told to get a reaction. It's the kind of true story that sticks to your bones. I grew up a few towns over, but for the last 5 years I've been living in a narrow rental above an old bait shop near the mouth of Muskegon Lake. I worked days at a small maritime restoration shop, fixing rot and rust on boats that had been everywhere and nowhere. The work kept me steady, kept me honest. People around the harbor knew me by sight. The unlit cigarettes I never smoked, the battered navy jacket that smelled faintly of diesel. I liked the plainness of my days, the slow rhythm of tide and task, until October rolled in with an impatient wind. Before I tell you about that night, you should know the people I was tangled with then. There was Nora Beckett, the barista at the Red Buoy who could remember everyone's order but not her own. She had a laugh like wind through corn stalks in a backyard with more herbs than you might think. My neighbor, Ellis Harrow, an ex-Coast Guard with permanent creases around his eyes, was the kind of man other men gave directions to when the fog swallowed the shoreline. My sister, June, lived in Grand Rapids and called every Sunday. She was practical and quick to tell me I worried too much. Muskegon itself felt like a character in the story. A city of boatyards and bars, a place where the water was never still and memory clung to the pilings. There were places children dared each other to go. The abandoned pier that groaned like a tired creature. The lighthouse that still pointed a finger into the dark even though the light had been mechanized years ago. The dunes where campers built fires and told stories until the chill chased them home. That kind of geography makes men believe in second chances, and it makes women swear they heard things in the reeds. People say the lake holds on to moments. I came to learn how true that was. In the weeks before October 14, I had been restless. The shop owner's temper had frayed. There was talk of layoffs. Nights grew long, and the wind seemed to whisper old names. I found myself walking the waterfront after midnight, looking for answers I didn't have. I kept a cheap flashlight in my pocket and a little notebook where I scribbled what I couldn't say aloud. My friends noticed. Ellis said I had a look that belonged to men who'd been up too long and seen too much. Nora asked me if I was writing a book. I lied and said yes. I also need to tell you about the old boathouse on Pier 7. It's the kind of place that fits 100 small tragedies. Peeling paint, a sagging roof, the smell of mold and tar. Locals avoided it. They called it the keeper's shed in half-joking tones because once, a long time ago, someone had kept watch there and never left. Teenagers dared one another to sprint through its shadow at dusk. Fishermen left offerings of smoke and muttered apologies on mornings when their rigs were missing. I liked the boathouse in a way. It was private, thinly lit, and had a shelf where you could lay your problems out like tools. And like a fool, I started going there when sleep wouldn't come. There are ordinary reasons why a man finds himself in odd places at odd hours. The need for quiet, the wish to be near water when decisions must be made. I had more practical ones too. Sometimes clients would drop off boats' parts at midnight. Sometimes the shop needed to move a hull and we'd work under blue floodlights. But the boathouse had this other quality. It listened. When you stood inside it, you could hear the lake speak against the pilings, the city breathe at the far end of the pier. It felt like truth, even when it wasn't. I tell you all this because a story needs its frame, its cast, its weather. You need to know who I was and who I leaned on so that when the strange thing threaded through the ordinary, you'll understand how quickly ordinary frays. People ask later, why that night? Why Muskegon? Why me? Those questions are real, but they get mixed with rumor and fear. I can't answer all of them. I can give you what I remember. For months prior, I had been finding small, odd things. A child's shoe tucked under a piling that I knew no child had left. A note, damp and curled, with 3 letters on it, M-E-L, and nothing more. A shadow at the corner of the red buoy that uncurled itself like a sleeping animal and then was gone. I thought perhaps I was tired, perhaps the weight of work and the weather had started to sharpen my imagination. But other people saw things too. Nora's cousin swore she heard a woman singing on the lake at dawn. Ellis found fresh footprints at the high tide line, prints that led nowhere and had no known maker. And so on October 14th, 2019, after a late shift at the shop and a quiet drink at the Red Buoy, I walked to the pier with my coat pulled tight. The moon was a sliver, the shoreline a black tooth against the velvet of the lake. The city, like, my name is Jonathan Klein. My name is Jonathan Klein. I was 28 years old on October 14th, 2019, the night everything changed in Muskegon, Michigan. Listen close, sit nearer if you like, because this isn't one of those ghostly tall tales told to get a reaction. It's the kind of true story that sticks to your bones. I grew up a few towns over, but for the last 5 years I've been living in a narrow rental above an old bait shop near the mouth of Muskegon Lake. I worked days at a small maritime restoration shop, fixing rot and rust on boats that had been everywhere and nowhere. The work kept me steady, kept me honest. People around the harbor knew me by sight. The unlit cigarettes I never smoked, the battered navy jacket that smelled faintly of diesel. I liked the plainness of my days, the slow rhythm of tide and task, until October rolled in with an impatient wind. Before I tell you about that night, you should know the people I was tangled with then. There was Nora Beckett, the barista at the Red Buoy who could remember everyone's order but not her own.
Oh, you just said that.
She had a laugh like wind through corn stalks in a backyard with more herbs than you might think. My neighbor, Ellis Harrow, an ex-Coast Guard with permanent creases.
I don't know what happened, but you got your thing mixed up in the beginning.
A shadow at the corner of the red buoy that uncurled itself like a sleeping animal and then was gone. I thought perhaps I was tired, perhaps the weight of work and the weather had started to sharpen my imagination. But other people saw things too. Nora's cousin swore she heard a woman singing on the lake at dawn. Ellis found fresh footprints at the high tide line, prints that led nowhere and had no known maker. And so on October 14th, 2019, after a late shift at the shop and a quiet drink at the Red Buoy, I walked to the pier with my coat pulled tight. The moon was a sliver, the shoreline a black tooth against the velvet of the lake. The city lights behind me were a low hum, and the water in front of me was a dark field, thick with possibility. I had my notebook, I had my flashlight. I had half a mind to put both away and call June and tell her I was coming home. Now. And this is where the story shifts and where the thing I've been circling finally steps into the open. I'll tell you what actually happened that night. What I felt, what I heard, and how the ordinary place I thought I knew became something else entirely. Keep your hand on the arm of your chair. The best stories don't let go of you easily. Hit subscribe for more chilling tales. I kept my flashlight low as I stepped onto the pier because light draws attention out here. To goals, to other people, and to things that should stay hidden. The boards creaked under my boots in that way they always do, a tired complaint that the tide answered with a soft, sucking sound. I walked the length toward the sagging boathouse, and for a long stretch there was nothing but the regular music of the place. Water nudging wood, a distant car, the stray bark of a dog somewhere inland. Then, beneath it all, there was another sound, a quiet, threadbare singing like someone humming while they stitched. If you've ever heard the lake sing, you know it can imitate 100 voices. On good nights, it's gulls. On bad nights, it borrows the lilt of a child's lullaby and makes it into something that sits wrong in your chest. The singing was low, tuneless, and it seemed to come from just beyond the boathouse, where the light didn't reach and the pilings fell into black water. My hand tightened on the flashlight. I felt the small animal warning flare people get when something's not right. The door to the boathouse was ajar, as if someone had left in a hurry or had been pushed out. The inside smelled of damp rope and old varnish, and there, on the workbench, lay another scrap of paper folded into a hard little square. I almost didn't touch it, but curiosity and that private compulsion I kept in a notebook had me unfold it. The 3 letters were there again. M-E-L. Same damp curling edge as the others. Someone had written them in a different hand, more deliberate, as if carving initials into wood. I traced the letters with my thumb and looked up. The singing had stopped. The air tasted of iron and cold. The flashlight caught a line of footprints through the sand at the edge of the pilings. They led from the boathouse to the water and then stopped. No track led back. Someone or something had walked into the Lake Michigan tide and simply vanished. Ellis's face came to my mind. A man who had navigated fogs and storms, who read the world in buoys and bell signals. I thought of asking him to come, of calling Nora to stay open and wait for me, but pride and a stupid, private desire gripped me. I wanted to see for myself. I wanted to know whether the water had swallowed evidence of a prank, or whether it had begun to swallow people. I pocketed the note, left the boathouse, and followed the footprints. They led to a small inlet where old rowboats lay half buried and green at the edges. Moonlight skimmed the tops of ripples. There, tied to a broken cleat, was a boat I didn't recognize, a skiff, light, one oar still clinging to its rowlocks. The oar bore scratch marks that looked like letters if you squinted. I set my flashlight on the gunwale and leaned close. The wood smelled faintly of perfume, an odd perfume for a place of oil and salt, but unmistakable, lavender and something heavier, like cloves. Then I heard it again, a whisper at the waterline. Jonathan, someone breathed. It was my name, but not in my voice. I stopped dead. The world narrowed to the beam of my flashlight and the sound of my own blood. Whoever or whatever called me knew me. That stitch of recognition tugged at something deeper. The note, M-E-L, the footprints, the singing. It threaded them all together. Who's there? I asked, and my voice thin as glass. No reply. The oar bobbed lightly as if stirred by something unseen. I reached for it and the boat shifted. For a heartbeat, I saw the silhouette of a figure in the hull, a woman curled, knees to chest, hair matted around her face. She looked like she'd been sleeping, but the way the light hit her skin made it almost translucent. The breath left me as if my chest had been compressed. Don't, she said, though the sound might have come from the water itself. Please. I wanted to climb down, to pull her into the light, to find out everything. I also wanted to run.
I have active psoriatic arthritis, but with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready for this moment. Along with clearer skin, Skyrizi helps me move, plus joint.
The 2 impulses warred in my stomach. I told myself she might be cold, lost, in need of help. Men and women go missing from the shoreline sometimes. Sometimes they slip and drown. Sometimes they wander off in a fog and don't remember where they slept. The practical part of me,
What are you
the
doing?
part that could splice a rotten hull and patch a seam, told me to do the sensible thing. Call for help, get a rope, secure the boat. The other part, the part that had been keeping bad company with sleeplessness and whispers, pushed me forward. I climbed down the pilings and knelt on the old timbers, reaching toward the woman in the boat. Her hair slid from her face, and she looked up at me. The flashlight caught her eyes, and I will swear to you that they were familiar. Not because I knew the woman, I didn't. but because they reflected something I had seen before. June's tired face the morning after a storm, Nora staring at a pastry case, Ellis squinting into fog. They reflected a longing so vast it made my throat ache. "You've got to let me help," I said, trying for a calm I didn't feel. "Who are you? Are you all right?" She smiled then, but it wasn't a smile that matched her distress. It was the kind of smile people give when they remember something they don't want to remember and put on politeness instead. "MEL," she said, looking at the scrap of paper in my pocket without me giving it any thought. "She left me a note." The words were simple. The implication wasn't. The woman's hand brushed the oar, and my flashlight made a thin diamond on her ring finger. An old, tarnished band with a small chip where the metal had been struck. I knew in a way I could not explain that this boat had belonged to someone long gone, or to someone who should have been long gone. The name on the note echoed again in my mind like a bell. Mel. I thought of the initials of the notes left half hidden around town. I thought of footprints that led into water like a person who'd finally decided to stop walking on land. Then the water moved in a way it didn't have a right to. The boat strained on its mooring, and for a breath, the woman in the skiff seemed to thin, like smoke being pulled to a seam. I grabbed for her hand, and it was cold as the lake and thin as a dead leaf. My fingers closed around nothing. The hand slipped through like steam. Panic tasted metallic in my mouth. "Hold on!" I yelled, but there was no one to hear in the cold open air but the gulls and the pier. The skiff drifted, the light trembled, and when I looked again, the shape in the hull had gone. Only the oar remained, and the scent of lavender, and my pulse in my ears like someone running. I scrambled back up to the pier, breath tearing in my chest. My hands were shaking in a way they never had before. I held the flashlight out and scanned the water, the pilings, the face of the moon. The skiff bobbed empty in the tide, moored to nothing but memory. No footprints led away. No sound came from the boathouse but the creak of old timbers. The scrap of paper in my pocket felt heavier than before, and when I looked down, I noticed a new mark smeared into the corner of the page. A crescent of salt, and what looked suspiciously like a smear of dried blood. I didn't sleep that night. I walked the pier until dawn, and when the first pale light came over Muskegon Lake, I called Ellis. He came within the hour with a lantern and the kind of face that men get when they need to be useful. Nora opened the red buoy before anyone asked, and her hands were steady as she brewed coffee for 3. We pulled the skiff to the dock, prodded around under the pilings, and checked the tide lines. There were no more scraps, no witnesses. But the oar, when Ellis examined it, had letters scratched so deep the wood had split. MEL, in a hand that might have been the same as mine, or may have been his, depending on which way you turned your head. At noon, a report came through the police scanner. A small camper near the dunes had been found with the engine gone cold, a basket of herbs overturned. Someone I'd never met before mentioned a missing woman named Melissa Rowe who'd left town years earlier and whose case had grown cold. The threads were knitting themselves into a pattern, or perhaps they were only tying themselves into knots. Either way, my life shifted into the kind of small, sharp business of following those threads. June called and I lied about sleep again. That night, and I don't say this lightly, the lake hummed as if it had remembered something important and would not let it go. I slept for an hour, maybe 2, and woke in a puddle of fear. The house above the bait shop felt too small and the harbor too loud. The scrap of paper burned in my pocket like a promise. I won't tell you everything that happened next. Not yet. But know this, something followed me from the pier. It found its way into the lightest corners of my daily life, into lunch counters, into the back of my eyelids when I closed them, into the little notebook where I wrote because writing made sense of small things. It whispered names that felt like mine and showed me places that had no right to exist, and when it touched me, I could not tell if I was being comforted or claimed. Hit subscribe for more chilling tales. The weeks that followed felt like living inside a story someone else was telling and I had stumbled into the middle of. Once the skiff bobbed empty and the oar with MEL carved deep into it, there was no walking away. Ellis, Nora, and I began to dig, not with shovels at first, but with questions. We checked old police reports. Melissa Rowe, missing, case opened 1997, closed as runaway, We talked to men who remembered a woman who worked shifts at the waterfront diner and who loved lavender-scented soap. We found a faded photograph in the county archives of a girl with a crooked grin and a ribbon in her hair. The name fit too neatly into the holes we'd been tripping over. The initials on my scrap, the scent on the oar, the ring in the skiff, the lake had been speaking in breadcrumbs. The police were polite at first, then polite and annoyed, then polite and finally uncomfortable. A detective named Marcus Trent, broad-shouldered, too young, and too stern for his years, took my notebook and read my shaky handwriting as if it were evidence rather than the ramblings of a man who hadn't slept. He ordered us to stop poking around the pier at night. He said there were
Probably needs
procedures
you to pet him
we said the
sometimes
lake
too.
had different procedures that didn't care for paper and procedure. He put a file in the drawer and a promise in the air that he'd look into the old case. A week later, a storm came that drowned the harbor in a wash of salt and rain.
Father
After it
Lawless.
cleared, we found the pier
Hey,
bridge
thanks.
stretched like an old bruise. A piling's gone, ropes shredded, a small, rusted locker half buried in wet sand. In that locker, wrapped in oilcloth and tied with string, was a shoe the county records matched to Melissa Rowe's missing property, a rusted copper locket with a picture the same as the archive photo, and a folded, brittle piece of paper that had been wet and pressed for years. The initials were there, in ink brown like old tea, NEL. The paper smelled of salt and lavender. The detective could no longer look annoyed. There are moments when the world concedes to you in the oddest of ways. The discovery reopened the old case officially. Worn files were exhumed. Men who had been quiet for decades suddenly remembered details. The neighbor who'd seen a late-night argument on a porch, the drunk who claimed a truck sped down the lane and into the fog, a fisherman who swore he heard a voice singing at the waterline and told no one because he feared they'd think him soft. They found evidence of a private life that had been hidden. Letters, a journal where Melissa wrote of being watched, of someone who said love and meant possession. Her last entries were the least coherent, page after page about a keeper who kept watch and about the lake wanting to take what was owed. Whether the lake wanted her or someone else wanted to hide her or both, the paper couldn't settle on a single story. But the locker, the shoe, the locket, these were physical things that made the intangible press against the world and leave a mark. The town had to notice. They pulled the old pilings and scanned the mud at the foundation. It was a gruesome, careful process, one that made me want to look away and that also gnawed at me until I forced myself to stay. In the soft muck, under an old crossbeam, they found what we feared. Remains, fragmentary and water-gnawed, but enough. Identification took time. The lab moved in its slow, comfortable way. When the result finally arrived, when they called me and said, "It's her," there was a hole in me like a missing tooth. You might think finding an answer brings peace. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it only makes the questions louder. The coroner ruled as gently as a man can. Accidental death with complicating circumstances, old injuries, and the way the tides rearranged truth. Some in town whispered about a cover-up, fingers pointing at a man who vanished from Muskegon a year after Melissa did. Others said the lake had claimed itself another secret. The detective made arrests, and then the case split and folded like a paper fortune teller. Some faces were cleared, others were questioned in courtrooms where the court was supposed to judge, but often just
Father
whispers.
Lawless.
In the end,
Oh,
the legal world did what
it's
it could.
Lawless.
Indictments,
Yes.
deals, truths that
That's
tasted
what's
like
up.
half coins.
It
The
just,
lake did what it had always
it
done.
just clicked.
Its cold counsel. For me, the resolution was messier. Finding Melissa's things and getting her name back into the light.
It just clicked.
What had followed me from the pier.
Father Lawless. You changed your name up a little bit and threw the yeet
I've
in
been
there
thinking
with the
of
yeet yeet.
in the skip in broad daylight. Not as a thing to be dredged, but as a person who refused to be
Sick
removed
asshole.
even after she was found. Her voice returned in corners, but it was softened by gratitude, or maybe by the way people say thank you just before they leave. Once, standing at the harbor while
The
sun
live
struck
snow
the
cam will
water
be
to
better
clear
tomorrow
teeth,
during the
I heard
day.
my name called,
I just
not in
needed an
accusation,
excuse
but
to
as a
stay up
benediction.
until after
It was a
midnight so
small
I could
mercy.
put some
I
wood
realized
in
then
the
that
wood
mercy
stove.
had its own currency. I had been afraid of being claimed by the thing I couldn't name, the lake, guilt, the past. But the more I acted, the less it felt like theft and more like stewardship. We
Well,
held a small
not bad.
private
Chilling.
meeting
It's
to
winter
make a
time.
report. We wrote about
Hibernating.
lavender wrapped in paper.
Doing
Most
that
of us
man
know
bear
we
thing, you know what I mean?
apology than eulogy. June came down for the weekend. We buried the locket near the dunes where Melissa had liked to watch fog.
Oh yeah, I got to my
There was a hush
furnace
in the
took a
water
crap
that
on
felt
me a
less
couple
like
days ago. I
accusation
need a
and
part,
more like release.
and it happened over the
Did you
weekend.
stop hearing things out
And
of
now we
your
got the
bedroom?
snow. They're saying a
No,
foot to 2 feet
not
by
always. I
Tuesday.
still hear
And it's
low
supposed to snow all
hums
day
from the
tomorrow,
highway,
so I'm not gonna be able to go
small
anywhere to
thread
get a
of
part
memory that
tomorrow.
tugs at the ragged edges of
And then
memory.
the Order
Sometimes
one
it's
ain't
Laura
gonna be
singing
here
to
until
herself while she
January
washes
5th,
cups.
anyways.
Sometimes it's the
So
lake.
we're burning wood right
Learned to
now.
live with it. It became part of the weather of my life. Unpredictable, sometimes harsh, often beautiful in its own small, terrible way. I stayed in Muskegon for a while after everything settled, long enough to see the pier repaired enough for light traffic, long enough to patch some engines,
Yeah,
long enough
but
for a
wood
detective
stove
to
keeps the
close a
house
file
plenty
with
warm
more
enough, dude.
questions than answers,
It's
with
70
the name
degrees in
finally
here.
spoken aloud. Eventually, work pulled me away. Places remember you, and you remember them, and people change states of mind.
I'd burn furniture if I had to.
I left a small stone at the Lockett's burial
But
site the last day I drove away.
it's only like
June cried in the car, but not
it's only like a
enough
$10
for
part.
She
It's
cried
just
for
the
way
flame
town had been a little
sensor
less
on the
gentle than it should
furnace.
have been. For the
It's
people who
just
vanished under
the
the
stories
weight
don't
of
carry
fire.
them,
For the fact
and then the
that some
timing
stories
because it happened on like a
forced into
Friday.
joy. If there's a
So it
moral,
took me a
it's
day
not
to
told.
diagnose what was going on
It is
because I don't know shit about
listening
furnaces.
matters.
I don't want to pay
If
somebody
a place seems to be
$400.
calling,
You know what I mean?
sometimes it is because it needs to be heard.
So I
Not
finally
because it seeks to
diagnosed
harm
it,
you.
pulled the part. Sure
The
enough, the
lake
part was
kept its
bad,
secrets for years. It
and
shared
I
one
just
with us,
ain't been able to
demanding
get
attention
one.
in return.
Weekend,
We paid as best we could.
everything's an hour drive away.
I carried a scrap of paper. with
Amazon's
the
a week,
still,
you know what I
pages
mean?
pressed tight so the letters don't rub away. There are nights when I wake and the house above the bait shop
So
smells
if I have to
faintly of
burn wood
lavender and
for
salt.
a week or whatever, it's not a
There are
big
nights
deal.
when I feel the cold of the ore slipping
That's
through
why
my
I got a
fingers.
wood stove, you know what I'm
But
saying?
there are also mornings when the harbor looks ordinary, and ordinary is a kind of mercy. This is a true story because these things happen to people.
Fixing to go put some wood in it here in a minute.
They changed us.
I'll show you the wood stove if you want to see it.
If you're ever in Muskegon and you stand on the pier at the right hour, you might hear a note that sounds like a name. Say it aloud. It's a name like being said. Hit subscribe for more.
I'll set up my mono. Well, I got my monopod right here with my phone holder on
My
it.
name is Evan Rowe. I was
I can
28
slap
years
my
old
phone
when I
on it
got
and go look at the
night
wood
of
stove. I
October
gotta put
12th,
wood in it here in a minute anyways.
And I still hear the gulls sometimes and feel the
I'm
cold of
just
the harbor wind.
smashing on a bowl of cereal.
I tell you this, sitting at my kitchen table with a cup gone cold.
Gotta have that nighttime
because
cereal,
some
you know what I'm
things don't leave
saying?
you, even when you try to pack them away.
Yeah.
This is a true story from
Google,
Muskegon.
man. Google
Not a
Google and
ghost story
YouTube.
yarn, not something built to
Luckily,
get
I had a
clicks.
furnace that had a
It's
flashing
small,
light,
with broken
and I
hinges
figured
and
out
small
that the
silences,
flashing light meant the code.
hold the whole
So I
world.
watched it long enough to figure out what the code was, and then I Googled the code, and that led me to figuring out what it was. That and some other people on YouTube.
New players play $5 and get 500 spins on cash eruption slots, plus the first day replay up to 1,000 in credits.
Yeah, it was a soft lockout for igniting too many times, and it wouldn't ignite because my flame sensor igniter's bad. Don't have an extra one. So I'll get one. I'm gonna get two of them. That way, if one ever goes out, I've always got a backup. Kind of like a heating element for your hot water heater. You know, it's always good to keep an extra one around.
Muskegon was the kind of town where everybody knew where you worked and what truck you drove. I grew up
No,
on the
hell no.
outside
I got like a, I got a big ass chimney, an 8-inch stovepipe.
string of seafood shacks, the
I mean, once you,
Coast Guard
if when you
boathouses.
very first light it,
My father used to say that
you know,
when you carry
because you gotta,
scars,
it's
you carry scars,
for
not
smoke to rise out your chimney, you need heat. You know what I'm saying? So the hotter your stove is, the more your chimney draws
I
smoke.
repaired boats at a little shop on
So
Harvard
when you
Street.
first light your fire, it might get a
He was
little
an
smoky in the
ex-South
house for a minute, but
taught me steady hands and trusted me with
once it's
engines
burning
that
in there and you got a hotbed of coals, an 8-inch chimney, you know what I mean, just sucks out all the smoke.
Faded photograph of a
You know how a draft works. You know what I'm saying?
People like Ron teach you to look
Yeah.
for small telltale things. A snapped cleat,
Yeah, I'll show you the wood
a
stove though.
smear of
It's
blood
sweet.
should be, and the footprints that don't
dope.
match the number of people on a job. Those are the things that tell you when the ordinary is breaking. There were a few people in my life.
I like burning wood, dude. Truth be told, it feels like it's a better heat. I don't know what it is, man. I've always had a furnace, and we got this wood stove. You know, we all use it when power goes out or something happens. And we've used it a few times over the last couple of years, and I personally think the wood stove's better than the furnace. It's quieter, the heat feels denser. Mom likes the living room hot, because she's an old lady, so it keeps the living room hotter than it does my bedroom, and and the rest of the house is comfortable as far as I'm concerned. Everything's like 70 degrees.
Old fishermen would tell you about the drift, a strange current near the old power plant that snagged more
Shit, 70 degrees is comfortable.
The lake being picky, that Lake Michigan preferred to keep to itself.
I mean,
It was the
let me get my shirt on here.
That lives in the pause between sentences. You never asked too many questions about it in front of strangers. That month, the town felt thinner. Boats that usually bobbed and slipped were tied tight.
Yeah, you can regulate the heat based on how much airflow you let go through your wood stove. You know what I mean? But the wood stove's hot. Like, you could cook on it right now.
3 plastic chairs stacked outside the Coast Guard building at odd hours. The smell of
And you put a fan in the living room. And we got ceiling fans too. I mean, it just circulate. You know what I'm saying? It's like wood stove's the way to go, bro. Let me get my shirt on.
She called me every few nights with little crises.
And I kind of think the wood is even cheaper than the propane, because that's what we have. We have propane. We don't have natural gas here. You know what I mean? We don't have that kind of infrastructure. Where, your house probably got a gas line that runs right to it. You know what I'm saying? Here we got propane.
They were long and shallow, like something dragged. I mentioned them to Jonas, and he smiled that sideways smile. Muskegon is getting restless.
All right.
Ron frowned. Keep your head, he said. People make stories out of shadows.
Let me turn my light on here for a minute.
That made me feel better for a night. But on the side, the paint shop's plywood shutter was off its hinges, and someone had scrawled a crooked circle in the dust of the shop window. Maggie was pale when I saw her.
All right.
Kids, she said, were drunks.
I'll show you the fire.
But her hands trembled when she handed over my legal pack of squid. The immediate lead up to October 12th was ordinary and small.
Yeah, yep. They come and deliver. When they're in town or something, they'll drive by, they'll stop and check our stuff. We don't even have to call them. Got them on autofill. There's my wood stove.
What do we know about her? She wants to go.
Not having an affair, Paul.
I even painted it, but when I first got it, it was just kind of the plain metal, you know what I mean? And I painted it with header paint, because I figured the header paint would hold up, because header paint's supposed to get hot. But no, it don't. You can see that side runs a little hotter. But it looked good when it was freshly painted, that's for sure. It looked really good.
Just about killed us with the smell.
Yeah, I'm gonna open her up and chuck some wood in there. And then these things right here, you adjust these. The more you open it, the more air it gets, so the hotter it gets. But also, the more air it gets, the faster it burns your wood. So, once you got a good bed of coals in there, you just got to have them cracked open. And then at night, you pack her full of wood and you shut these, and it just stays hot all night. And then you wake up in the morning, there's still a little bit of wood in there, you throw some extra on it, and it keeps going. And then you get to sit here and play with fire. And if you had like one of those long forks, you could put some hot dogs on, dude. We'll be cooking some hot dogs right here, right now, if you wanted to. Or you could put a pan up on top of this thing, and your pan would get hot enough to cook something or boil water. So it does all that, you know what I'm saying? As long as we got this thing, we'll never have to worry about cooking food or going cold. As long as there's wood. And that's freaking hot, let me tell you.
Mommy's going to bed.
And you take some good old hard maple or something. Gotta use a nice hardwood for overnight though.
What's that about? Hmm? Think Mama was fooling you? What's he doing, Goo? Come here.
You see that little bit of smoke that came out? That's, you know what I mean? That ain't much. Get fire smell.
Is that okay? Hmm? Is that better?
As soon as you shut it.
Ain't it? Is that okay? Hmm? Is that okay?
I'll open these up a little bit to get these fresh chunks burning pretty good. And then I'll come back in about 20 minutes and shut it and let it roll. Shit's hot though. The Frontier. Nice flat plates on the top. Oh, if you wanted,
Don't you be watching
if you wanted
me.
to, you could clean
going
that
to
and
bed.
cook a burger right on it if you wanted to. You know what I'm
And
saying?
don't you get in my chair.
A burning maple. There's maple in there, some poplar, and I think a little bit of hickory. The poplar's a softer wood. I burn that during the day. But maple, hickory, oak if you can get it. I hear hickory's the best. I know maple is really good. Get a lot of maple. You know what I'm saying? Any wood that's considered a hardwood is what you want. Let's see. We'll let that, give it about 20 minutes. Let that stuff get going really good, and then we'll shut the vents on it and just let her smolder all night. Dude, I'm telling you, man. Once you start using something like this, you'll get it. You know what I'm saying? For real. I like it. I mean, it requires a little work, you know what I mean? You gotta bring some wood in, keep things clean, you know, get your wood. Here, around here, you know, if you got a truck and a place to get wood, you can go get the wood yourself. Got a chainsaw, you get your exercise in, you know what I mean? And or dude down the street here for me, he sells the stuff for a living. He's got a yard in his front yard. He's got a machine, and they bring in some logs and put the log on the machine. It cuts the wood, splits it, spits it out the other end, and he sells it. Oh, parents had a fireplace. My grandparents had a fireplace too, dude. They always had a fireplace. The house that my grandparents lived in when I was a little kid, like, it was a big house. And you know, we never used what was considered the main door of the house. It was a big double door that opened. You'd always come up to the garage, and everybody went in through the garage. And then you'd come in the kitchen, dining room, and then dining room would just open up into one big living room. And then the wall The wall was the one wall that was brick like that, dude, but real brick, not this facade brick. The whole wall was say like the whole freaking wall was one big brick fireplace with a fireplace in the middle. And it had like a little bench area you could sit on. Then they put the Christmas tree over in the corner over here. And then there'd be like a back door to go out to the patio. Then you'd come through the house this way past it, and then it went into the front part of the house with an upstairs with a few bedrooms, full basement, full attic. I think there was like 4 or 5 bedrooms. It's all right. It's eclectic. The floors aren't the greatest. Don't let those floors fool you. They look good from here. You know what I'm saying? They need to be replaced. They got some wear on them. There's one bedroom upstairs. That's where my bedroom used to be, is upstairs when my son lived here. And then that room's me. That room's my mom. Back there's the laundry and bathroom. Dog kennel. Some old desk that my mom still has. This is the dining room. And then this is the kitchen. That's the mom back door. That's pretty much the extent of it. Big TV. Yeah, that's pretty much it though, bro. And turn the old dimmer light down. I wonder if I got like a fingerprint on my... I feel like I got a fingerprint on there. Guess you sure don't want to focus in the dark, does it? Thanks. Yeah, this is our second house. We had a small house too down the road, down this way down the road, but Mom sold that. Yeah, no problem. I don't mind showing people my crib. This is our house. Our house. You know what I mean? This is, well, this is my room.
We'll lock this down, he said.
This is the second house we've officially owned. Well, I say we, but Mom, you know what I mean? So, but this has been the biggest and best one we've ever owned, so. Yeah, that's my room. That's my working space. My couch, my chair, my bed. You know what I mean? My TV, my bookshelf with no books on it. Collect rocks and junk. Rocks and junk. Dresser. Up there.
But the town is full of people who don't like being locked down. Word was reaching the harbor. Whisper at the diner, an anxious tenant at the bait shop.
I'm talking up there.
Soon,
That one?
Crowd gathered
No.
the yellow tape. Faces pale and angry.
That's
in halo
the
of
boy.
headlights. Maggie was there.
That's my
her hands
son.
raw from clenching, and Hannah stood at the back with a coat wrapped tight.
And my
eyes
grandparents.
Seeing her there was like a fist. I had to tell her to go home. She wouldn't leave.
Oh, the deer? Yeah, that was
She
me.
sat and watched like the rest of us,
Yeah.
a small figure in a bigger, incomprehensible
2018.
problem. That night, under the yellow tape, Frank
8-point
told the crowd
Uper
all
buck.
he could.
My uncle did the mount on
We
it.
found a man, he said. We don't
My
know
first
who he
buck
is.
ever.
We'll do what we can. He looked at me when he said it. You two stay for questions.
As a younger me and a younger son, that's my best friend Casey.
Someone found a fishing license in the wet that matched a name from out of county. Someone else swore they had seen a dark
Got me
old
there with my man
dead
boobs
on the
out,
far side of the harbor an hour
fishing.
before.
It was hot. I didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Didn't care. That was a picture in my grandma's house before she passed away. It was going to get thrown away. And I felt like it was a pretty good representation of me. You know what I'm saying? What I mean? So, and then comic cards I collected when I was a young teenager. I put them in this frame and some of them slipped on me, so I got to pull it down and readjust them. Same with this one. That one did it to me too. This one hung in there just fine though. They're individual cards, and I laid them in there, and then and then I got that big old perch.
And how in Muskegon, small things could form a map if you looked long enough. The next morning, the town woke as if from a punch. People had the weary, thin look of those who had been kept up. The newspapers wouldn't say much yet. Frank's deputies were
all these comics I collected when I was a youngster.
And someone had booked the boathouse for cleanup by noon.
I always thought, boy, I'd give them to my son someday. He'd appreciate them, you know what I mean, type stuff. And I mean, they'll never be valuable, I don't think, but
what happened next? How the search expanded, what the forensics turned up.
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Small town calm into something raw.
That's all a fellow got. Could show you the garage, but we got a garage too.
The way Jonas swore.
It's you could fit 2 cars in it, but we only got 1 door.
Those are the small things that stitch the rest together.
Yeah.
Subscribe for more
I mean,
details.
it's all right.
Felt like wandering
you know, not doing too bad for poor people, right? So we own a house, anyways. Can't buy a new car or anything, but we own a house, so
the state lab called with
what
words
can you
you
do?
don't want to hear in the middle of the night.
Right?
Preliminary, hold, pending, and all of them meant the town would not.
Yeah, freaking snow.
I tried to keep working at Ron's shop because keeping your hands busy is the oldest trick there is for keeping panic from settling in your lives. Every time I tightened the clamp into the carburetor, my mind slid back to the boathouse, to that wrapped shape, to the numbers etched clean into skin, a small little code. Forensics came back faster than I expected. The county coroner.
Yeah, the wood stove's pretty dope though. I got that wood stove on Marketplace. Paid like $250 for it. It's like a $500 wood stove at least.
The man in the canvas had no identification, but he was local. Small tattoos on the forearm hinted at things grown men get to hide. A faded anchor, a name crossed out. The wounds were old and new, and the cause of death was blunt force trauma with complications that suggested he had been restrained and kept for a time before being released into the water. The thing that made Dr. Leon
I have to go back out and check the fireplace here in a minute though, actually not. I can't forget about that. I just want to make sure that wood's burning good
Whoever had done this knew how to leave a signature
before I close the vents on it. Before I choke it out of oxygen, because once you close those, you know, it slows down the oxygen flow, which slows down the burn, but it'll burn nice and hot all night.
If anyone heard or saw anything, now's the time to say it. He looked at me when
Yeah, it was a good find.
how close this thing
Yeah,
got to me.
good find. You can find good stuff like that, especially around here.
At the bait shop, Maggie needed coffee the way some people need
I'm sure you can find them out there in California too, though.
Ev, you saw that jacket piece? She said,
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live now that I have like a wood stove / fireplace set up. I wouldn't want to be any other way, especially living in a place like this. Like if our power goes out, dude, fucking, we won't even be able to. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we have a generator, but it's not hooked up to the house. Check this real quick. It don't take long for this stuff to get burning good. It's like if the power goes out up here, which happens quite often in this area, you know, you don't have no freaking electricity, no heat. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we'll open them up just a little bit more. Get them going. Get a little more air going in there. Oh yeah. That's what you need, a little more air. A little more air. So you're ripping now, huh? A little air. I'll make sure them bottom logs are burning really good. That way when I choke this sucker out for the night. Yep. Yeah, that's the point of these things here. The more you open them, the more the air flows. And the more the fire burns, the quicker your wood burns. So it's one of those fine balances. And the only way, it's just experience of learning your wood stove. You know what I'm saying? The more they're open, the hotter it gets. The more wood you chuck in there, the hotter it gets. She's a bad bitch, though. And if you like to play with fire, like I said, you can let them coals burn down and cook some wieners on there, dude. You know what I'm saying? Or like, get you like some of those camping things that you put the bread in and the pizza sauce and like you make the campfire pizza. You know what I'm saying? You could do that right in there. Just as long as you got good clean wood. That'd be dope, huh? That's a good idea. I might have one of those out in the garage. Oh shit, campfire pizza. Might be doing campfire pizza tomorrow. It's a good idea. I got pepperonis and pizza sauce, white bread. I have to go get some wheat bread though. I like that wheat. I try to stay away from that white bread. Just waiting on this freaking thing though. I can hear it too. I think I could probably turn her down pretty good though. That's all the way shut. That's partially open. There. Whew, that's hot. That should do it for the night. She should be good. And it's still snowing.
Not an official ledger, but scraps of paper, a list of dates, and scrawled names. Beside it lay a yellowed photograph of a man I recognized, Matthew Unger.
Yeah.
There's sketches of the harbor, notes about times when boats left and returned, and in same numbers etched into the wrist of the man from the boathouse. Someone had been keeping a record.
Oh, what
Someone had
happened?
been counting. I heard
Oh, there she is.
behind me and
I
her
accidentally
feet.
pressed my Gemini tried coming on there.
In a coat heavy with sea spray. For a breath, I saw the face, and then it was gone into
From
shape.
Arkansas, what up?
The shape moved with a purpose that made the hair stand on my arms. You shouldn't be here, a voice said, low and not unkind. It belonged to someone who expected obedience. I could have run. I could have called out. I didn't, because the shape in the doorway knew where to stand.
We still got power. I haven't heard any power outages around us yet. Maybe tomorrow might be different. The wind hasn't really ramped up yet. The wind's supposed to ramp up tomorrow. I mean, it's blowing out there, don't get me wrong, but it's not blowing as hard as they're saying it's gonna. They're expecting 40-mile-an-hour winds tomorrow and stuff.
The ledger clutched like a confession. The person turned and the face slid into the light. It wasn't Ron. It wasn't Frank. It was a man I had seen 100 times at auctions and at the docks. Garrick Stone, owner of Stone Salvage, whose trucks did the heavy, dirty work no one wanted to speak about. His jaw was a stone. His eyes were the color of river scum. He smiled like a man who'd been waiting for a reason to close a book. You shouldn't be meddling, Evan, he said quietly. Some things are meant to finish their course. I could smell the harbor on him as if he'd come from a wooden grave. My mouth felt suddenly full of sand. Jonas's face flashed in my head, his laugh, his careless skepticism. If Garrick knew things, if the ledger in my hands tied names to faces, then the harbor
West of where I'm at, I'm on the eastern end too of the Upper Peninsula. So the western end's getting hammered. Got the wind right now, from my understanding. I've seen some other people doing like live streams, some storm chasers driving around, and on YouTube and Facebook I noticed some, and they were all west of here still. The video doesn't do it any justice on how nasty it is out there.
I held the ledger like an accusation. He smiled without humor, the kind of smile that belongs to men who have been doing terrible things for a long time and have made a philosophy out of it. You shouldn't be meddling, Evan, he said again. You don't know what you found. I know enough, I said, and my voice surprised me by not shaking. You had Matthew. You had him in a unit. You wrote dates and times. You wrote the numbers. Jonas went looking for answers, and now he's gone. How many people are those numbers?
Ooh.
Garrick's eyes narrowed. You don't understand the work, he said. We move what needs moving. Sometimes people get in the way. My name is Daniel Kessler. I was 28 years old on the night it happened, October 6th, 2019. And I still think in that year's quiet, cold light when I try to explain what followed. I tell this now like someone trying to carve a clean line through fog, precise enough to be believed, messy enough to keep the edges of the thing alive. People think of Michigan's Upper Peninsula as one thing: endless pines, iron mines turned to empty teeth, lakes that look like black mirrors. They picture cabins and campfires and ghost stories told to warm hands. That is true, and it is the polite half-truth. The peninsula has its kindnesses. Small towns where the diner owner knows your order before you sit, an elderly woman who still leaves jars of pickles on her porch for whoever passes, a horizon so wide you feel small and honest by comparison. But there is also a geography of absences, roads that stop being paved without telling you, lakes with names no mapmaker remembers why they were given, property lines where the land seems to inhale and the trees lean listeners. I was from Grand Harbor, a patchwork of houses and shipping lights on a lakeshore, and I worked as a field surveyor, the kind of job that required me to be precise, to trust numbers more than hunches. That trust mattered. It was currency. My crew was small. Me, Theo Marks, short, quick with a laugh that could make a dead engine sound like a friend. And April Sutter, steady, no nonsense, the kind of woman who measured time by the fit of her boots and the angle of a slope. We took contracts from timber companies, from a geology student once, from a private landowner named Harlan Whitfield who liked to speak in wool and rarely took his hat off. Whitfield's parcel was in a remote basin south of Merrill Lake, an old logging tract cradled by ridges, the map labeled unnamed. The property line ran to a place locals called Black Alder Bend, not because alder trees grew there, but because there was a bend in the river where the water slowed and the surface turned so glossy it reflected like polished stone. People in town said the bend had been a place to leave things, small offerings, a child's toy, sometimes a bottle with a name scrawled on it. It keeps the cold in its mouth, Old Man Grover said the week before we left, and by then I was already thinking in coordinates and clearances, not in curses. We arrived the morning the frost had not yet burned off the grass. It was the kind of dawn that seemed to make sound careful. Even our truck seemed to lower its voice as if not to disturb the catalog of pine trunks. Harlan met us at the gate, a tall man whose jaw looked carved from the same stone as the surrounding cliffs. He signed the forms, pointed at a dotted line on his map and said, "Survey for boundaries, nothing else. There are tracks crossing over where the old road used to be. I want them recorded." He did not look like a man who desired to be believed. He looked like a man who wanted his instructions followed. The first 3 days were ordinary in the way that settles into your muscles. We paced the land with measuring tapes and laser rangefinders, set flags, cursed at stubborn underbrush. Theo sang off-key to his own headphones. April kept a small thermos of coffee and passed it around like contraband. We found remnants of the past, a rusted axle half swallowed by moss, a foundation of stacked stones suggesting Caddy's footprint, the cracked bottle of a whiskey brand no longer on shelves. Each thing felt like proof this place had been breathed over by people who'd left and never come back. At the night we camped by the truck, stretched under a canopy of stars so dense the sky looked like a wound full of light. We told stories, not the polished kind that stays tidy, but those messy, half-laughed tales you tell to make the dark less interested in you. People who know the Ute will tell you there are animals there that sound like small choirs and things that rearrange your hair on the back of your neck. I learned to laugh with them and to keep my flashlight close at hand. There is a bracing honesty to work done in the wild. You are accountable to gravity, to tape measures, to the wind. You learn to trust senses that modern life makes timid. So when the first of the odd things happened, it didn't seem extraordinary at first. A set of footprints where no one should have walked. A pile of stones placed on top of a boulder in a pattern that made my stomach press upward. A circle of charred twigs but no ashes, as if the fire had been performed in reverse. I wrote each on my log like other entries, coordinates, notes, my initials. And yet there was a rhythm to the occurrences, a cadence that felt like the landscape speaking in a grammar I had not learned. On the fourth morning, April found a trail, not a game path, not a logging road, that cut through alder and low spruce, heading toward the bend. The trees there were older, trunks furred with lichen, and the air seemed to thicken. "This'll be the edge of his east line," she said, voice steady. I nodded and took the laser. Theo, wandering 2 steps behind with his pack slack, whistled a tune he'd invented, though now his tune sounded thin. We followed the trail like people following a rumor. By then, I had already started to notice a small, dull pressure inside my head, as if I could hear the land arranging its memory. Odd things, I told myself, have explanations. Animals, pranksters, old logging crews. But there was a look to the path at Black Alder Bend, something like a held breath, and it made the surveyor in me uneasy. Surveyors like facts. The land was supposed to yield them. Instead, it offered riddles. We reached the bend just before noon. The river there had the black, polished look old-timers described. The surface was still, no wind teased the reeds. On a flat, exposed slab of stone at the water's edge, someone, or something, had arranged a ring of small bones. Animal bones, delicate as when you find them scattered beneath a hawk's favorite perch. They were placed with care, each one pointing slightly inward as though directed by hands that understood geometry. There was a scrap of fabric, too, gray, thin, like the lining of an old coat, frayed but intact. I should have photographed it. I should have walked away. Those are the sentences that sit afterwards when memory becomes a ledger. Instead, I crouched scratched and touched the nearest bone with gloved fingers. It felt ordinary, calcium. When I looked up, Theo's face was 20 yards away, and pale stood between us, and there was a sound like a distant bell inside her throat. Someone's been here more recently than the rest, she said. Fresh footprints along the bank. Boot prints. We turned to follow them toward a curve in the water where the trees crowded close. That's when the wind came. Sudden, low, carrying the smell of something metallic, like a coin warmed in fire. It moved through the bend and over us, and for a moment the hair on my arms remembered that I belonged to a skin that could feel cold in August. I tell you all this because the main thing that follows was not a single terrifying strike. It was the slow unwrapping of a place that had an appetite for attention. It was small things growing teeth. The main story. The part that pushes a man out of the comfortable ledger of day-to-day life and into a ledger of consequences begins in earnest now, the way a wind finally decides which direction it wants to take. Hold that thought. I will tell you what happened next, but first remember, maps can be precise, but they never account for the insistence of a place that has been remembered wrongly by other people. The Upper Peninsula keeps secrets like some keep family heirlooms, wrapped, labeled, and sometimes when it's tired of carrying them, it sets them down where strangers will find them. Hit subscribe for more chilling tales. The bend kept holding its breath after that first wind. We stayed a little longer than was smart. Part habit, part stubbornness. Surveyors mark things properly, we don't walk away mid-line. April took photos, logged the coordinates, circled them 3 times on her notepad. This is not normal, she said, not exactly to me, and not exactly to the map. Theo kept trying to joke, and his jokes crawled out thin and brittle like someone blowing at an old wound. By mid-afternoon, the sky had the kind of cold gray that promises rain, but gives you a silence instead. We cut through alder toward the next boundary marker. The river bent away and left a strip of bog between the trees. The ground there that year had eaten more of the old road than we expected. We set a transit on a tripod, measured a sightline to a cedar that leaned like a tired sentinel, and started our slow arithmetic of distance and angle. The laser hummed. The numbers came back taut and sensible. For a while it felt like work again, which is to say it felt human. Then Theo's voice went thin. Hey, you see that? He had found something near a fallen signpost, a small rusted tin with letters rubbed off, its lid clinging like a memory. Inside was a scrap of paper folded many times, brittle with age. He started to unfold it, fingers fumbling, and I remember thinking the angle of his shoulders looked wrong, tased, like someone had propped a doll on a rock. He read aloud, slow, and the words had been written in a tight, impatient hand. Keep the bend. If you take the line past dusk, you will be marked. Do not follow the red tracks. April cursed under her breath and stuffed the scrap into her jacket. Who writes like that? She muttered. Who leaves warnings on property lines? We all asked the same silent, practical question. Who would be here in a grove no one visited but the deer and the wind? We shrugged it into our pockets.
I don't know if anybody's still watching or listening, but I'm shutting this live down. It's 1 a.m. Not gonna leave my phone on running all night, so.
The air went from clear to clean to the kind of chill that slips under the jacket and occupies above. We built camp with professional efficiency.
Thanks for whoever's here. I see there's one, and whoever was here and stopped in. Thanks. I'm gonna probably go live. I'll be going live again tomorrow when I get up, so that way we can see what the snow looks like.
Instead, the dark around black all
But,
felt as if it had a shape. From the cab of the truck
peace.
with the engine off and the heater ticking, I could see the line of trees like a black tooth against the sky.
Oh, I hit the
Theo sat
wrong
with
one.
his knees drawn up, watching